What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we have a very special video for you guys because today we are going to be ranking all Five Nights at Freddy's games, or at least most of them, all of the main games, and we're going to include some of the side games like Five Nights at Freddy's World, Five Nights at Freddy's AR, and that's really it as far as side games are concerned. And of course we have all the main games stretching from FNAF 1 all the way to the Ruin DLC that released back at the end of July. So, yeah, this is going to be very exciting. I don't think there's been a ranking yet that has included Ruin DLC. And speaking of Ruin DLC, I think it's also good to point out that we are going to be separating Security Breach and the Ruin DLC because personally, I believe that they're two different experiences. Kind of two different experiences, sort of. Even though like you need Security Breach to go into Ruin, I feel like Ruin, like on its own, it just kind of it stands on its own compared to Security Breach because well we'll get into that once we talk about Ruin. But yeah, we're gonna be ranking all the games. We basically we combined our opinions sort of, and we've kind of created a list that hopefully we'll see how it goes. We'll see what people think about it, but I think it's only best that we just get into it. So basically how this is gonna work is we're going to tell you guys the ranking of the game, and then right after we're going to basically just talk about it a little bit, talk about why it's there, and then talk about why we like it, why we maybe don't like it, or some of the negatives anyway, because I don't think there's I don't think there's been a single quote unquote bad game.
No.
I don't think there's been a single Well, I don't think there's really been a game that has just been bad as far as quality is concerned, or that has been that has just been bad. I don't think there's been a Five Nights at Freddy's game that's been bad. Some other people may disagree on that, but that's how we see it. All right, so well, I don't really have much else to say. Let's just go ahead and get right into the rankings.
Start from which one is it?
All right, coming in at the number 12 spot, we have Five Nights at Freddy's AR, and honestly, this was to be expected. This is the mobile game. This is the augmented reality version of Five Nights at Freddy's that we get. Basically, all it is you download it on your phone and the animatronics just come after you, basically. I mean, what do you know about it? You know more about it than I do. I know nothing. I have hardly looked up anything about this game. I really don't know anything. That's really all I know, and that might be all there is to it, but what do you know about it?
The trailer had Markiplier in it.
The trailer did have Markiplier in it. I do know that much, and that's pretty cool. But I mean, what about the gameplay? As far as gameplay, is it just
walk?
It's basically what you'd expect from an augmented reality game. You're just walking around with your phone, and the animatronics are basically coming after you, and then you have to just basically avoid that, sort of. Not really much to it. Honestly, there's nothing really special about this game. It's a side game, so obviously there's really not much to it as far as depth or anything like that. It's just a side game, and honestly, I really don't know too much about it. So yeah, that's why it's kind of at the bottom of the list for us, and we've hardly really paid any attention to it, even when it released.
Pokemon Go FNAF version.
Basically, that's what it is, and that's usually how augmented reality games go. Most augmented reality games, anyway. That's how I see it, anyway. All right, coming in at the number 11 spot, we have Five Nights at Freddy's World, and basically, again, another side game, not a main game, although this does have a little bit more to it compared to AR. This one, the gameplay, it's fun.
Yes.
It's fun. It's got a fun gameplay. It's more lighthearted and more. It's basically Five Nights at Freddy's RPG.
Yes.
Basically.
It's also a turn-based game, I guess.
Yeah. And basically, I mean, again, not a main game, so there's not much to it. It's basically just a fun game. Although
this FNAF World was the first game that introduced a wall bit.
Really, it was.
Yeah,
it wasn't even Sister Location. It was.
No,
it was.
She was the shopkeeper.
Yeah, and again, this is also something else to point out is a lot of these rankings is it's very, very personal and very it's very subjective because we've had different experiences with these games. There are some games, some Five Nights at Freddy's games that I have completed in its entirety, and there are some games that I haven't even touched. So there are some games I would have different experience with than others, and that's why some of these rankings are the way they are. But for Five Nights at Freddy's World, I don't think we've ever played it, but we have seen videos on it and stuff like that.
Not only did it introduce all of it, but also Funtime Foxy.
So wait,
DD.
Oh.
How unfortunate.
So so it introduced Funtime Foxy before Sister Location even did? I did not know that. See, I'm learning stuff new right now. But again, like, even though, like, Five Nights at Freddy's World, it doesn't have a lot to it, there are still some stuff. Like, you know, you have that cutscene at the end of the game with the creator.
Yes.
And then, you know, teasing Circus Baby and stuff. And that was really, really cool. Very memorable moment for Five Nights at Freddy's World. And then, basically just a fun game. Again, there's not much to it. It's an entertaining and fun game. And, I mean, again, not a main game. Not much to it. Not much depth. Not much heft to it. It's just fun. It's just fun. And that's all it is. That's all it needs to be. That's all it was trying to be. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Five Nights at Freddy's World. Let's move on to the number 10 spot. Alright, for number 10, we have Ultimate Custom Night. Basically, your big custom night. We've been familiar with the custom nights from each of the games. This is basically the ultimate custom night. You get it? You see what I did there? Because it's called Ultimate Custom Night, and yeah, okay. Basically the game that brings all the animatronics together, every single animatronic or most of the animatronics from all the games, brings them all into one room, and
Super FNAF Brothers Ultimate.
That's basically what it is, honestly. Except they're not fighting each other. They're just coming after you. It's Five Nights at Freddy's, but with every single animatronic coming after you, and it's really hard. It's very, very hard, and because of the fact that there are so many animatronics, you have so many mechanics that you have to deal with, so God bless anyone who has to, deal with 50 animatronics coming after you, Dawko, for example, 50-20 mode, that's insane how you have to deal with that many mechanics going up against that many animatronics. It's honestly insane. It's insane, and it's so difficult as well. And, you know, again, also, I think that the best part of the game are all the voice lines, or all the death lines that you get when you die. It's just really, really fun. And they also, you know, they have some lore to it. They're not just fun. Like, there are some fun lines, and there are also some pretty scary lines. And there are also some lines that have a little bit of, like, story to it, a little bit of lore to it that basically explains a little bit of stuff, or, you know, or tries to explain some stuff. But, yeah, I mean, there's really, again, this is a game, like, it's just bringing all the animatronics into one room, you're going up against them, and that's basically all it is. Overall, like, compared to the other games, like, compared to some of the games that we're gonna get in the future, or, you know, the games that, are further up on the rankings, that's what I meant to say, that are further up on the rankings, this one just doesn't have the quality compared to the others. It's fun, it's definitely fun, and it's challenging, and I like the fact that it's challenging. But there's really not much replay value to this. I don't find there to be any replay value to this. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. It's cool. It's a really good idea, and it is fun. And now my cat is trying to kill my computer. Please don't turn it off. I beg you to don't turn it off. Now he's gone behind the monitor. He's now behind the monitor. It's the kitty behind the monitor. But yeah, like I said, just compared to some of the other games, this one doesn't really, not much replay value to it. It's fun, but not much to it compared to some of the other games. Alright, moving on. Coming in at the number 9 spot, this might be a very, very hot take. And, well, okay, let me just go ahead and say it. Number 9, it's Five Nights at Freddy's VR. And just because it's kind of lower on the rankings, that does not mean that we dislike this game. We really like this game, which just goes to show how good all of these Five Nights at Freddy's games are. Like, we really like Five Nights at Freddy's VR, and there's so much to it. Obviously, let's first of all talk about the fact that it is terrifying. It's terrifying because it's VR. It's basically what you'd expect from Five Nights at Freddy's in VR. It is terrifying. It is intense. There's just so much terror to it, and it's great, and that's really good. I mean, I can't imagine a Five Nights at Freddy's VR game that's not scary. That would be a complete catastrophe. So, at least that's good. Like, they really made it terrifying. I'd say something that's lacking are the jump scare animations. I think that there should have been more to it. Again, this was like, we'll talk more about this later on. But the jump scare animations, they're basically just, you know, they just go in your face. That's really it. They just go in your face and scream. And that's the only reason why that would be scary is because, like, the build-up and the anticipation to the scare would be super, super intense. So when the scare actually happens, that's the only reason why it's scary. It's not even just the jump scare animation itself. It's just the build-up to it, the anticipation to it. That's the scariest part of it. But the jump scares themselves, they are kind of lacking in my opinion. So that's unfortunate. I think that the biggest thing to talk about with Five Nights at Freddy's VR is the fact that this game completely changed the lore. It introduced Glitch Trap. and what other stuff?
Introduced Vanny.
You should mention that. But how does it introduce Vanny? And did you say that was the? Did you say that was the Dreadbear DLC?
Yes, in the Dreadbear DLC, there's a game mode called Corn Maze, and you're basically going up against this, like, it's basically Jacko Foxy, and you're being chased by him, and you're going through this maze. But I forgot, you have to find like 4 keys, and then you go to the center, and you can find this like little shed.
Yeah.
And inside it is the Vanny mask.
Yeah.
You put it on, and you get out of the game mode, and you unlock the mask.
Yeah, again, like I said, there are some things that I'm learning. Like I said, I've had different experiences with all these games, so I don't. There are some games that I don't know a lot about, and then there are some games that I know all about. So, Five Nights at Freddy's VR is one of the games that I didn't know much about. He knows more about it than I do, and this was more of his ranking right here, and I think that Five Nights at Freddy's VR overall, it's really cool. It's really cool. Like all the game modes that you have, revisiting some of the older games, Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, 3, revisiting that. Night Terrors. What's the one where you fix the animatronics?
Parts and Service.
Oh, it's just called Parts and Service. Okay, yeah, that's cool. The tapes are cool when you get the tapes. But again, this is kind of like Ultimate Custom Night. This is a game that. It's just the reason why it kind of goes down a little bit is because, again, compared to some of the other games,
not as many memorable moments.
It just doesn't. Yeah, there's not as many like memorable moments. Not as many moments that really just like that stand out to me. There are a couple. There are a couple like the ending, I guess, with Glitch Trap telling you, come here, come here, come here. Basically, him doing that. That's the only thing that's memorable. That's the only particular thing that stands out to me about the game. And again, for those who have more experience with the game, they probably think the opposite of that. They probably think that there are a lot of memorable moments with this, but that's just the way I see it. Overall, it just doesn't really stand out to me as much. It's very cool and it's terrifying, but again, that's the only thing that brings it down, really. It's just that, again, another comparison. Alright. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. The game that is very, very interesting because it's basically a mixture between a pizzeria tycoon and a Five Nights at Freddy's game. So, I mean, again, it doesn't have Five Nights at Freddy's in the title. It's just Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. So that's how you get the mixture in right there. So the biggest thing about this game, the thing that makes it stand out the most are the endings and the lore. Because let's be real, that's all this game was trying to do. The lore hits a climax at this point. It does. And the endings, particularly the main ending and the lore keeper where you can see the graves at the end, those endings are incredible. They're incredible. They're so good.
Scraptrap's design is questionable.
Yeah,
but
that's something. Scraptrap's design is questionable. I mean, his head, it just looks off. It looks odd. But then you have certain designs like Lefty.
Yes, Lefty.
Would you say Molten Freddy's a good one?
Yes.
I like Molten Freddy. I like Molten Freddy. Molten Freddy looks cool. Scrap Baby's okay.
Yes.
She's okay. I mean, again, not incredible, but she's just all right. Molten Freddy and Lefty, I think, are really good.
I think all of their designs are great.
Yeah, it's just Scrap Trap and Scrap Baby that are kind of the questionable ones in my opinion.
Molten Freddy, Lefty, Scrap Baby, Mr. Peanut, all of them are good.
Yeah. So, and again, like I said, it is a mixture between a Pizzeria Tycoon and Five Nights at Freddy's game, and it's fun. And when you're in the office in between, or like every night when you're in the office, it's very unique compared to some of the other games because there's no time limit. There's no survive till 6 a.m. You're just doing things on your laptop, and you have to fend off against the animatronics that are coming after you, like through the vents. And that's cool. I do like that. And I like the fact that there's no time limit. You can take your time. Make sure that none of the animatronics are coming after you. And I do like that a lot. So again, like this game is so different compared to the rest. It's very, very different compared to the rest. Especially with all the games that we had prior, Final Fantasy Freddy's 1 through its sister location, and then we get this game, and it's just like, what? Basically, I mean, it basically feels like there's two games going on at once, and it kind of works, which is crazy. It works. And I'd say this has a lot of memorable moments. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, or Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, Five Nights at Freddy's 6. I mean, it's just Five Nights at Freddy's 6. This game, it has a lot of memorable moments, and we can all agree on that. I feel like all of the endings are so memorable, particularly the main ending, of course, with Henry's monologue and stuff, and it's so good. There's so many really, really great moments in this game. I don't think it's quite as replayable, though. I don't think I'd like look to this game to go back to, honestly, like as far as playing it. If I want to look up like the memorable moments, the endings and stuff, I can just look it up on YouTube. I don't feel the desire to go back through the game and play it again, really. That's the way I see it. Like, would you agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. I mean, again, like I said, it's fun. It is very fun, but I just don't think it's at that moment. I don't think it's at that point where it's just got that replay value to me. That's the way I see it. And again, I do really like this game. There's no game that I dislike, and it's very, very tough to make a ranking of this because all the games are really, really good, and I really like it. Coming in at the number 7 spot, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and this might draw some debate because, don't get me wrong, it is very, very classic. It's such a classic, and it's so nostalgic to me, or to us, because this is the first Five Nights at Freddy's game we ever played.
Yes.
This is the first Five Nights at Freddy's game we ever played, and there's so many good things about it. The atmosphere is fantastic. It's like most of the animatronic designs are great, and particularly the withered animatronics. I think that their designs are really, really cool. And the gameplay it's really fun, and it is replayable. It's really replayable. It is. And this is the game that it introduced the minigames.
Yes.
It introduced the minigames, and you know, even if they aren't as important as they are later on in the series, this is the game that introduced the minigames. It is. And I mean, is there any like important ones to call out in this game? Any important minigames?
Give gifts, give life.
Give kids life.
Give gifts,
give
lives.
Give gifts, give lives.
That's the one where you play as puppet and you give gifts and mask to dead children.
And what does that do? Just
give them the ability to be an animatronic.
Oh yeah, puppet giving them life.
Yes.
Basically is what it is.
Give gifts, give life.
I gotcha. Okay.
And at the end, once you've done that, for a split second, you can see a 5th one in the middle, right before a Golden Freddy jump scare.
Interesting. So is that Cassidy? Yeah,
yes.
There you go. All right. So again, like I said, I'm learning new stuff right now. And I think that a lot of the mechanics are really cool.
Yes.
I think that the mechanics in this game are really cool. And it's very chaotic. It's very chaotic because there's so many animatronics, or at least it's basically probably more than doubled last time. It's more than doubled last time because I mean there's just so many animatronics, and there's so many different ways they can go into your office and different things that you have to do and things like that. So it's a very chaotic game compared to the first one. And it's funny because I said that this game is replayable, but I never really go back to it. And it's another one of those games where it's like compared to some of the other games that we have, just doesn't have as much as the other games, or it doesn't really impact me as much as some of the other games. The only reason why this game like really impacts me and is very special to me is because of the fact that this is the first FNAF game that we ever played. So it's so nostalgic to us, so nostalgic. But that's really all I have for it, and it's very fun, and it's an important game, 100%. It's an important game, but I don't really go back to it much. I don't really look at it very much. It's just it's just such a classic game, and it's very nostalgic to me, and I do love it a lot, but I don't really come back to it, at least not as much as some of the other games. To the number 6 spot, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and in our opinion, this is a very underrated game, in our opinion, because let's be real, best part of this game, the lore, particularly the endings. They're incredible. And the way they're presented through the minigames is so cool. All of the minigames are really cool. Some of them make you rage, but they're really, really cool. Like, let's go over them. You have BB's minigame, you have Mangle's minigame, you have Chica, you have Shadow Bonnie, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, like where
you're
you're
Fredbear.
Yeah, Fredbear, and then like you become Shadow Bonnie at some point. And let's be real, like the Happiest Day minigame is so good. Yeah. It's so good. It's so memorable, and like it's one of the best like moments in Five Nights at Freddy's. I think out of the whole series, I think it's one of the best. You know, I think that the payoff at the end is worth it. You know, and just seeing Purple Guy or the dead kids go up and basically try and take the revenge on Purple Guy.
Yes.
Purple Guy goes into the spring lock suit and then gets spring locked and dies. Boom.
Dead.
Bye.
Boom.
Better see it in the movie. Yeah, it's such a great ending. Whether or not it's the bad ending or the good ending, of course the good ending being better because you have all the mini games that basically build up the story, and it's just so good. It's so good. The lore and the endings they're so good. And the design of Springtrap in particular is really good. And it's one of the best ones. It's one of the most iconic ones. It's one of the most iconic designs. His jump scare is meh. It's lackluster. It's not not that great. Yeah, I mean he just goes up into your face like that basically, and it's lackluster. The jump scare is lackluster. The scariness, the scare factor of this game is lackluster as well. It's kind of intense, but it's pretty lackluster compared to some of the other games.
The scare factor is mostly the phantoms.
Yeah, mostly the phantoms, and I think that the designs of the Phantom animatronics are pretty good. Like some better than others. Like let's not talk about Chica. She looks like a watermelon. Phantom Freddy's okay.
Yeah.
Phantom Balloon Boy is okay. Phantom Foxy I think is the scariest though. Phantom Foxy is 100% the scariest. His jump scare is the scariest, and the reason why, here's the reason why, is because Phantom Foxy is in the middle of the room. He's in the middle of the room, so it's while you're turning when you see him. And I think that jump scares have more of an impact when you get the visual right before the big loud noise. I think that is super effective. So when you're turning your screen, you see Phantom Foxy before he jump scares you. You see him, and then boom, he hits you with the scare, and it's terrifying. He's the scariest animatronic out of all of them. Even though you're going up against one animatronic and they're just kind of there, still, I think he's more scary than Springtrap in my opinion. And the gameplay, it's different from the first two games. Instead of it being basically just like close doors or put on a mask, stuff like that, now you're only going up against one animatronic, and you have like to reboot a bunch of systems, the audio systems, the camera systems, the ventilation and things like that. And instead of it basically just being avoid the animatronics getting into your office, now it's bring the animatronic to this location, keep them far away, keep them on the other side of the pizzeria. You didn't get to do that with the first two games, but this game you do, and I think it's cool. But I do think that the gameplay of this is probably the gameplay and the scare factor is what brings this game down. But the lore of this game is so good. It's so good.
This was going to be the last one.
This was going to be the last one. It was going to be a trilogy, and then Scott he didn't like the jump scare, so he made Five Nights at Freddy's 4, which we'll discuss when we get to it. But yeah, overall, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, I think it's a very underrated game. I think that the lore is incredible. I do agree with the jump scare being lackluster, and the gameplay it's different, but it's just okay. But overall, I think that this just has so many memorable moments. The lore is so good, and I think it's very, very important game. Very important game. All right, coming in at the number 5 spot, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 1. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. It's the first one. It's the first one. It's the classic. It's the phenomena. It's the phenomenon. The gameplay, it's simple, but it's really good. Obviously, it's the first game, so basically all it is you have the 4 animatronics. They're coming after you. You have to try and prevent them from getting into your office. Close the doors when they get to you. and it's just iconic, man. It's so iconic, and it's the first game. It's the classic. You can't diss on it. You can't diss on it, even though some of the rest of the games have so much more quality or not really quality, but depth and story to it compared to the first game. But this is the one that started it all. This is it. This is the icon right here. This is the icon. And it's a very intense game. It's a very intense game, and the atmosphere is so good, and the location is really good. Like all of the locations in the pizzeria are really good and really iconic. And basically everything is iconic. All of the designs of the animatronics are really, really good. All of them are really good. You know, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy. Yeah, all of them are really good. And I think that for the first game, the lore, the story, it's presented in the right amount. It's presented kind of through Easter eggs and rarity, basically. You'd flip the camera, and you know you have your primary stuff, but then every once in a while when you flip up the camera, some things would change, and maybe it would show, like, I don't know, a newspaper on the wall. You'd see Golden Freddy in the poster, and he'd show up in your office, and like things like that. And you know it's presented in really cool like Easter eggs, and you know. It was just perfect for the first game. I feel like it was perfect, basically, just to say, oh wait, hey, there is a story to this. There is more to it rather than just animatronics like coming to life. And this game, it's so nostalgic. It's so nostalgic because it's the first game, and again, it's not as much depth as the newer ones, which is it's expected. You know, it's expected. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about Final Fantasy Freddy's 1. It's so good. It's such a good game. It's the first one. It's the icon. It's the face of the franchise. You know, it's the face of the franchise, and doesn't have as much heft as the newer games, but it is very, very fun, very replayable, and basically it does everything right. It does do everything right, and I will be honest about that. But like I said, these are also personal experiences, and I think that Final Fantasy Freddy's 1 is so good. It's so good. Alright, coming in at the number 4 spot, ironically, is Final Fantasy Freddy's 4. And let's be real, this is the scariest one. There is no Final Fantasy Freddy's game that has made me more tense and more scared than this one. All of the games, like, usually you start off the games with being scared, but then they gradually they decrease over time as you play it. As you progress through the game, it becomes less scary, in my opinion. But this one, it keeps it throughout the majority of the game. It still kind of happens, like, as you progress, it does go down a little bit, the scare factor, but it keeps it for longer than the other games have. And I think that one of the biggest things about this game is that the location is different. Yes. You know, instead of it being in a pizzeria or, you know, in a building and an entertainment center or anything like that, this is at your house, which I think draws a more unsettling atmosphere than the pizzerias had. And so it's a lot more creepy and like chilling, and it's great. It's so good. All of the animatronic designs, all of the Nightmare animatronic designs are fantastic. So much detail put onto them. They're all so good. They look so good. They're terrifying. It's great. It's really, really good. The gameplay is awesome, and it's terrifying, and the mechanic where, you know, it relies on audio, basically. It draws the scares. That's what draws the scares. It is so tense. It elevates the horror so much. And it was a great idea. It was a great idea to use audio as a method of scaring the audience. It's really good, and it's very, very intense. And the only negative that we can have about Final Fantasy Freddy's 4 is that the lore is very, very complex and confusing. There is a lot of stuff that we still don't know, right? Like what? Like, I mean, give examples.
The chest. What's the Fredbear plushie? Are the nightmares illusions? Yeah, there are others. What was with the text in the final cutscene in Night? What was it where it says put you back together?
Night 6.
Night 6. There was a weird little coloring with the text that was different from the usual.
Oh, like someone else was talking?
Yeah, almost like that.
We don't know. That's kind of that describes the lore of Final Fantasy Freddy's 4 right there. It's just we don't know. We don't know. And yeah, that's the only complaint, quote unquote complaint, that we can give it. But again, like, we can't deny the fact that this is the scariest game. That it was a good idea. Like, the gameplay mechanics and everything is really, really good. It's just so good. Like, and there's a lot of really good moments in this game. A lot of really iconic moments. Like, is that the bite of 87? So yeah, I think Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is a great game. Honestly,
yes.
I think it's a great game, and I just, it's great. I mean, I don't have much complaints about it. You can't complain about the lore, but honestly, like, it's hard to deny that there are so many good moments from that game. So many good moments. So anyways, let's move on to our top 3. Coming in at the number 3 spot, it's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. And yes, it has bugs and problems. Yes, it's got performance issues. Yes, it's not that scary. Yes, there's not much polish to it. But none of that really affected our experience in a negative way. Never ever did. We never encountered a bug that ruined our experience. All of the bugs that we experienced were funny, were fun. Like this one.
Get out of my room, I'm playing my... Oh. That is not okay. That is not okay. You've learned from the best. What in the world?
Like, it was fun. It was so fun. And again, like I said, it's not that scary, but it does have very intense moments, like the daycare section, or the endoskeletons in the basement, or the DJ Music Man section. Like, there are moments in this game that are kind of scary and are pretty intense. And really, Five Nights at Freddy's it's always been about that. It's never really just been about right in your face scary. I mean, it kind of has with the jump scares, but those are like death screens, basically. The main horror of Five Nights at Freddy's is the fact that it is super intense, and it gives you this really massive feeling of anxiety and stuff, because the anticipation to the scares, the anticipation to your animatronics come to your office are always the scariest part, more scary than the jump scares, in my opinion. And there are moments in this game that has that. There are moments in this game that are super intense, and you just don't know when the animatronics are gonna come around the corner, or you don't know when they're gonna go in your face like that. So it may not be right in your face scary compared to some of the other games, but it does have moments that are pretty darn intense, and I hate the endoskeletons because they're so scary. And the gameplay, it's really, really fun and really entertaining. It's the first free roam Five Nights at Freddy's game, so obviously that was a huge deal. It's the biggest Five Nights at Freddy's game we've ever had. And it's just so much fun and entertaining. Like, it's super unique as well. All of the designs, like, of the pizzeria and the animatronics they're really, really cool and very, very colorful. The atmosphere and the lighting is beautiful. Like, the environment around you, it's so big and colorful and beautiful, and it's visually pleasing, so pleasing. And again, the only complaints I can give it is that some of the endings could be better. Some of the endings are a little they are. And the story itself, it could have been better, and it definitely felt rushed. Like, there were like, I mean, what's the deal at the end where Freddy says...
Freddy's like, if you leave now, kids will still go missing. You know, the thing I never brought up once in the game.
Yeah, well, where was that? I need to know. When were kids disappearing? When were they?
It's so random.
Yeah, it is random. It is. But overall, again, like, this game, objectively, it's got issues. It does. But, like, in our personal opinions, subjectively, like, our experience of this game was awesome. I really, really enjoyed playing this game. It was so much fun. The gameplay was really, really fun. Buggy, but fun. And it was so entertaining, and I'm very happy that Security Breach exists. And coming in at the number 2 spot, recency bias maybe, because this is the most recent thing to come out. It's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's Ruined DLC. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruined DLC. Which, in my opinion, is, on a quality basis, a huge step up from Security Breach. Not as buggy. It's still kind of, but it has more polish. It is definitely more polished. The bugs are still there, but not as much as Security Breach, because the gameplay and story is a lot more linear and straightforward. So a lot of the stuff is scripted rather than it basically just being an AI coming after you, really.
Yes.
It's basically, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, you know, everything is planned and scripted, and that really helps it a lot. And it's definitely more scary than the base game, 100%. I mean, like, the first 5 minutes, you're hit with, like, 5 jump scares, basically to set the tone, saying, hey, this is more scary. And again, this is a good example of a game where it starts off very scary, but then as you progress, it gradually gets less scary. But that's every single Five Nights at Freddy's game, every single one. But this is definitely more scary and more intense than the base game, in my opinion. And I think that the mechanics of this DLC are really, really cool, like with the AR mask and everything. When you put on the AR mask, it's visually really good. Even when the AR mask is off, it's still visually really good. Like, all of the Pizzaplex being destroyed and everything, it's really, really cool. It's so cool, in my opinion. Visually, and again, I mean, I said this with Security Breach. Visually, it's so good. It's really, really good. The ending to it's predictable, but I think that the payoff is really, really good. Like, even predictable endings don't affect me if the reveal and the payoff is really good. And in my opinion, I think that it was. And it even wasn't completely predictable. Sure, we guessed that Gregory was the Mimic, but I didn't know that Gregory was gonna just drop the elevator on us like that. Who would have guessed that? Who would have guessed that? Tell me, did you predict that? No, you did not predict that. And if you predict that, you are lying to yourself. There's no way you could have predicted that. We all predicted that Gregory, it was a trap. We all predicted that it was the Mimic, but we did not predict that that he was gonna drop the elevator on us like that. And the other endings, the Scooper ending and the Fredbear ending, they're interesting. I mean, the Scooper ending, like, I think has more explanation than the Fredbear ending, but the Fredbear ending, what? What is that?
Why?
Are we hiding? Are we... What? I don't know. We don't know. No one knows. And I think that our main character, Cassie, was a step up from Gregory. Because I think that something that Gregory didn't do as much was react to the environment around him. Cassie did that. She had reasonable and emotional, like, reactions to the environment around her, to the situations that are going on around her. Like, she had way more emotional awareness than Gregory did, and I admired that a lot. And her relationship with Roxy, like, come on, man. Like, I did not expect to go into this DLC and actually feel something. Like,
but you felt something.
I did feel something. I think that Cassie and Roxy's like, you know, dynamic that we kind of got at the end of the game, it was like very, very sudden, very unexpected, but it was really great. And I think that was one of the best moments of this DLC. Probably the best moment of this DLC, actually. Not even the reveal, just, like, you know, the deactivation scene with Roxy was super, it was sad, actually. It was really sad, surprisingly. And just seeing, like, and again, another example of Cassie being emotionally aware of her environment. On your way down to the elevator in the sinkhole, she's sobbing, and it's just like what? Like, yeah, that's what would happen if you had to deactivate your favorite animatronic, an animatronic that you've probably grown up with the whole time.
Yes.
And I think that the story of this DLC is better than the base game, in my personal opinion. And I really like the way it kind of presents some of the lore as well. Like, when you put on the AR mask and it kind of shows some stuff. Like, you know, when you're in, I think it was Roxy Raceway, and it kind of shows Gregory and Cassie together, that like cardboard cutout of that. And then you use you breach the node, the child node. And and then Gregory disappears, and it's just Cassie crying, and then you look on the wall, and it has a bunch of, like, missing posters with Gregory. I think that's really cool. Like, there are so many really good moments in this game, a lot of really good ideas, and I personally enjoyed this so much. And again, it's recency bias. That definitely probably plays that probably plays a little bit into this, but I found this to be really awesome, honestly. And it might, maybe as time goes on, it might go down a little bit because recency bias will go away, and that would probably be the same thing with Security Breach. But overall, right now, I still think that this game, or this DLC, was really good. I really liked it. Alright, going on to our number one pick. You guys know what it is by process of elimination. This is our personal favorite game, favorite experience. It's Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location. And this game, It's the first game to change the gameplay almost entirely, really. Instead of it being you surviving against the animatronics, it's now objective based. And each night you're doing different objectives and things like that. Where in each objective you're fending off against a particular animatronic. Like when you're underneath the desk in the circus gallery panel, you're fending off against the Bitty Babs. Or when you're crawling through Ballora Gallery, fending off against Ballora. Or when you're in the breaker room, fending off against Funtime Freddy. Each objective you're dealing with one animatronic, and it's a really good way of doing that, in my opinion. And all of the designs of the animatronics, all of the designs of the animatronics are really great. All of the Funtime animatronics are so cool, and I love the fact that, like, I love their color. I love sci-fi, so that's also a personal thing for me. But I love the fact that their faces open up, their chests open up, and things like that, and it's really, really cool, in my opinion. The designs of all of them are great. Who's the best design, though? Who do you think?
Like, out of all the animatronics?
Yeah, like, out of all the fun, or yeah, like, even out of all the animatronics of this location, including Ennard. Including him.
And probably Ennard.
Ennard? Really? You think he's the best one? Which is kind of funny because it's basically just a bunch of different parts of the main animatronics just put together, and he just takes the mask that is in the office, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And I think that the gameplay of this one is a lot of fun, and it's a linear storytelling, linear gameplay, and it's kind of funny. You notice a pattern with these best games. They're kind of running a little bit more linear, and I think that's the way to do these games, honestly, or for the most part. And that's the thing about Social Location is they kind of combine all of the elements of the previous games. Like, it's linear gameplay, but then you have sections like, with the fake ending when you actually go into like the base Five Nights at Freddy's where you're fending off against an animatronic, and that's really, really cool. And then you have the custom mode, of course, where you're doing that against all the animatronics, which I think is also really, really cool. And there are some challenging moments of this game, like Night 4, for example, is really tough. The code is kind of difficult, but if you've done it a lot, you kind of get used to it. The fake ending is really tough. Of course, you have some of the custom night modes that are really, really tough. There's some challenging moments, and the reason why it's so challenging, the Circus Baby minigame is kind of challenging a little bit. And the only reason why they're challenging is because they're so time-based, and they're kind of last second, Like, everything is programmed and designed in a way to where you beat it at the last second. Really, that's kind of how it is. Like, you beat the Circus Baby minigame with, like, 1 or 2 seconds left all the time. You beat the fake ending with, like 5% power, like, all the time. You beat Night 4 when all the spring locks are about to hit the top again. Like, all of it is programmed in a way to where it's super tight, and you have to be almost perfect in order to beat it, really. And that's something I really like a lot. And this is the first game, by the way, I mean, besides Five Nights at Freddy's World, to feature voice acting and voice lines, and you have characters like Hand Unit, and all the animatronics speak, or most of the animatronics speak. Ballora speaks, Funtime Freddy speaks, Circus Baby speaks, Bitty Bab speak. Funtime Foxy does not speak in this game, not at all.
None in this game.
And Ennard is really awesome. That entire section is really awesome, where he's impersonating Circus Baby and Elizabeth Afton, and that's something as well. The story of this game is fantastic, in my opinion, and the story that you're presented to in this game with Elizabeth Afton possessing Circus Baby and things like that is so cool. And both the endings are fantastic. The real ending is really good with the scooper, and then revealing that Ennard has taken your body, and then the fake ending is really, really cool. When you're fending off against Ennard and he's trying to get in your office and he's impersonating Circus Baby and Elizabeth Afton trying to emotionally damage Michael. And that's just such good moments and so messed up as well. The custom nights are fun. Like, I mean, you can't do no wrong with this game, in my opinion. Maybe, I don't really know what you could complain about with this game. Maybe, like, I don't know. I really don't know what you could complain about with this game. I really don't.
The final cutscene in Custom Night is great.
Oh yeah, the one where Michael is talking and then it reveals Springtrap at Fazbear's Fright. Yeah, that's really, really good. Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
What was your favorite part of this game?
Sister Location?
Yeah. Or your favorite aspect, I guess.
Might be the fake ending.
The fake ending is your favorite?
Both endings are great. But yeah, the fake ending.
Fake ending's great. I just think it's cool how it's one-on-one against another animatronic, and as the night progresses on, he gets a lot more aggressive, and then he starts trying to emotionally damage Michael with Elizabeth Afton's impersonation, which is messed up to say the least. It's messed up.
The fact that the FNAF 4 house might be above this.
Oh yeah, this might be underneath the FNAF 4 house. We don't really know that, do we?
I mean, on the little map in the breaker room, we can.
And it
see
also
that.
opens up a new idea with Ruin now. I mean, what if that was the scooper at the end of Ruin? So did that mean that was the sister location?
Well, it was definitely upgraded, so maybe they just like made another one.
Yeah, that was different, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this has started to turn into a theory video basically instead of a ranking video. But yeah, that's basically all we have to say about all these games, and that's gonna be our ranking right there. And Sister Location is our personal favorite game. It kind of always has been, really. It always has been. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the rankings below. Again, this was probably the most opinionated, subjective ranking that is probably out there, honestly, because we more put our experiences of each of these games on the forefront. Ooh, I just hit my mic. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. But we put our experiences of these games at the forefront rather than just objectively saying what the best game is. Because if we were to say what the best game is objectively speaking, it would probably be one of the older games, like FNAF 1 or FNAF 2. Like, objectively speaking, it probably would be. It would probably be the first game, because the first game was, doesn't really have anything to complain about.
It was the first game.
Yeah, and don't really have much to complain about. But again, this is based off of our experiences. This is based off of our personal opinions of how we see the game, and we really like it, honestly. I think it's great. So, anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the ranking, and tell us what your rankings would be of these games, because we're very interested to see how you guys would view these games, objectively or subjectively, whichever you'd prefer. Yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like on the stream. This ain't no stream. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit that notification bell to stay notified for future videos and streams that I do. And I'll see you guys in the next one.